Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham Yahweh Shai, Bahasham Recha Kodesh. Double honors to the elders and the apostles of Great Millstone, and peace and blessings to the elect. And today we're going to go into the book of Ruth, the first chapter. And this is along the same timeline with post-conquest, right after the book of Judges. So dealing with Ruth, this is still around the time period of the Judges, but this focuses more on basically the foreparents, you could say, of King David, right? So this is about a couple of generations before we get to the time of David. Also meaning that meaning that this is maybe one or two or three, a couple of generations also before Samuel. So this is the book of Ruth, chapter 1, verse 1. Now it came to pass in the days when the judges ruled that there was a famine in the land, and a certain man of Bethlehem, Judah, went to sojourn in the country of Moab, he and his wife and his 2 sons. And the name of the man was Elimelech, and the name of his wife was Naomi, and the name of his 2 sons, Mahlon, Mahlon and Chilion, Ephrathites of Bethlehem, Judah. And Ephrathite is, it can be one that is a descendant of Ephraim, and it can also be one that is from Bethlehem, which was also known as Ephrathah. And they came into the country of Moab and continued there. And Elimelech, Naomi's husband, died, and she was left and her 2 sons. And they took them wives of the women of Moab. The name of one was Orpah, and the name of the other Ruth. And they dwelled there about 10 years. Now let's look into a couple of these names here. Let's start with Elimelech. My God is King. Allah Malak. And so at this point, they've migrated to escape the famine, or let me say they've journeyed into the land of Moab. In process of time, Elimelech dies, and now the 2 sons of Elimelech, Mahlon and Chilion, end up marrying the 2 Moabite women, Orpah and Ruth. Let's see what their names go into. So we have Orpah, Gazelle, okay, and we have Ruth, or Rawath, friendship. Interesting. Cool. Where are we at? Verse 5. And Mahlon and Chilion died also, both of them. And the woman was left of her 2 sons and her husband. Now, it doesn't specify how they died, but we know that it wasn't through living to old age. Could have been an accident, could have been a sickness, whatever the case was. They ended up dying, and likely young too. So now you have Naomi and, just her and her 2 daughters-in-law. Then she arose with her daughters-in-law that she might return from the country of Moab. For she had heard in the country of Moab how that the Lord Yahweh had visited his people in giving them bread. So as she was dwelling there, word got to her that the famine was over and the Lord was, there was food and everything back in the land. Now, having lost her husband and her 2 sons, she decided to go back to Bethlehem. Therefore, she went forth out of the place where she was, leaving Moab, that is, and her 2 daughters-in-law with her. And they went on the way to return unto the land of Judah. And Naomi said unto her 2 daughters-in-law, Go, return each to her mother's house. And the Lord Yahweh deal kindly with you, as ye have dealt with the dead, and with me. So she basically says, look, you're free now, right? You go, go dwell, go back home, right? You don't have to come with me to back to Judah. And may the Lord bless you for, how well you took care of the dead, being their husbands who were now dead, and also with Naomi. The Lord grant you that ye may find rest, each of you, in the house of her husband. Then she kissed them, and they lifted up their voice and wept. And they said unto her, surely we will return with thee unto thy people. So they didn't want to leave. They didn't want to separate from her. And Naomi said, turn again, my daughters. Why will ye go with me? Are there yet any more sons in my womb, that they may be your husbands? So there's nothing left. I don't have any more sons that you can take to be your husbands. Turn again, my daughters. Go your way. For I am too old to have an husband. If I should say, I have hope, if I should have an husband also tonight, and should also bear sons. So let's just say, even if I was able to, find a husband tonight, and I was able to have sons, would ye tarry for them till they were grown? Would ye stay for them from having husbands? So would you wait until they were old enough to be married? Would you basically stop yourselves from having husbands for them? Nay, my daughters, for it grieveth me much for your sakes, that the hand of the Lord Yahweh is gone out against me. So Naomi, she felt bad, but she felt worse even for them, considering that, though her sons died, on their part, those were their husbands. And they lifted up their voice and wept again. And Orpah kissed her mother-in-law, but Ruth clave unto her. So Orpah kissed her as in to depart, but Ruth decided to still, cling on to Naomi and stay. And she said, behold, thy sister-in-law is gone back unto her people and unto her gods. Return thou after thy sister-in-law. So if your sister-in-law is gone, why don't you go home too? And Ruth said, entreat me not to leave thee, or to return from following after thee. For whither thou goest, I will go, and where thou lodgest, I will lodge. Thy people shall be my people, and thy God my God. Now what Ruth is saying here in so many words is, I'm going to go with you wherever you go. I'm going to stay with you. It doesn't mean she becomes an Israelite, and it doesn't mean, anything of that. It just means that she was going to basically live with Naomi, at least to stay with her, and whatever it is that Naomi wanted her to do, she would do it. Where thou diest will I die, and there will I be buried. The Lord Yahweh do so to me, and more also, if aught but death part thee and me. So she basically vows that may the Lord punish her if anything aside from death is what separates them. When she saw that she was steadfastly minded to go with her, then she left speaking unto her. So when Naomi saw that, she's made up her mind, she's not leaving, she eventually just let her be. So they two went until they came to Bethlehem. And it came to pass, when they were come to Bethlehem, that the city was moved about them. And they said, is this Naomi? So from these clues here, you can see that it would seem that Elimelech, which was Naomi's husband, was known, right? He must have been famous, or his house must have been one that was known in the land. Hence, when Naomi returned, people knew her, right? And they were excited to to see her come back. In fact, it makes sense why, they might have even sent wherever she heard that news from about the bread being in the land again. It could have been just some news that passed by, right? Or it could have been, people that were actually sent on to her to inform her. Nonetheless, she's recognized here. And she said unto them, call me not Naomi, call me Mara, for the Almighty hath dealt very bitterly with me. Now, Naomi, when you go into it, I think it's, was it Naimya? Yeah, Naimya, which is my delight. So the Naim being delight or kindness or pleasant, and the Ya making it my. So she's saying, don't call me Naomi, call me Mara, which means bitter. And she said that because of, as she's going to say, for the Almighty hath dealt very bitterly with me in taking away her husband and also her sons. I went out full, and the Lord hath brought me home again empty. So I left, when she says full, like with a full house, right? I had a husband, I had sons, and now I've returned with none of them. Why then call ye me Naomi? Seeing, so why call me Naomi, which is to say that my delight, seeing the Lord Yahweh hath testified against me, and the Almighty hath afflicted me. So Naomi returned, and Ruth the Moabitess, her daughter-in-law, with her, which returned out of the country of Moab, and they came to Bethlehem in the beginning of barley harvest. And that brings us to the end of the book of Ruth, the first chapter. Lord willing, that was edifying to the elect. In closing, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham Yahweh Shai, Bahasham Recha Kodesh. Until next time, Shalom.